Good morning, everybody. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq, and joining me is Brett Anderson. He's the Editor-in-Chief of the Robb Report. I want to learn more about this because not only is every single page in this magazine motivation to do well in life, it's a beautiful magazine.
Thank you very much, Jill. Yeah, we've just recently gone through a refresh of the magazine where we enlarged the trim size. We went with a heavier paper stock. It gives us more real estate on the page to play with from a design standpoint. So I think it enables us to make the images more impactful and the reader experience more exciting.
Well, let's get into one section today, the Quantum View section, where you look at collectible cars. And this is really interesting because one of the things I wanted to ask you, can collectible cars actually return blue chip-like investments?
They do. As we note in the piece, your investment advisor probably won't tell you that's the first place to go, but for collectors who are serious in getting the best examples, absolutely there is a return. And so Quantum View is a new section that we've introduced where each month we take a look at a particular segment of our market and look at the numbers. And we represent it in some kind of fun graphical ways. And this time we looked at collector cars. We thought, okay, over the last 10 years, which cars have performed best? Mm-hmm. And during that time, of course, we had the recession. So in some instances, you saw a big drop at the beginning. We started at May 2007. And we looked at numbers through May of 2017, and it was actually very interesting to see what happened.
So, curious, it's one of the sections that you're highlighting in August. You're spotlighting a particular model that is looking to fetch several millions of dollars.
Yes, many millions. The Monterey auctions are coming up with the Pebble Beach Concours actually next week, and there's actually some very interesting cars that are coming to auction then. We were looking at the car, the Porsche 917K, which Steve McQueen drove in the film Le Mans, which is a very famous race car from 1970. And that's coming up for auction at Pebble Beach for estimate is between 13 million and 16 million, so quite a significant.
It's really interesting because on trade talks we tend to focus on options and derivative products and equities and bonds and so forth, but we never look at fine art or collectible items as an investment segment. Do you think that the demand and the value will continue to grow with collectible cars? Because quite frankly, we're moving away from traditional mechanics in newer models of cars. These really are going to be a piece of history. Exactly.
Well, I think particularly with the mid-century cars, there's a great deal of interest in those because as time goes on, they become rarer and rarer. And oftentimes, once in a collection, they may not leave that collection for a lifetime. And so the interest has grown in the category, but there's a finite number of cars, and that's really driven up prices. Again, we saw what was interesting about the time frame that we chose was the fact that the recession hit, and it did impact that market. But all those numbers have trended up once we were past those first few years of the financial downturn.
Now, if these cars are in a specific race or they had a celebrity driver, does that help increase the value as well?
It certainly can. I mean, the provenance of the car, as with a piece of jewelry or a watch, who has owned it certainly has some impact on how it's valued from a collector standpoint. For instance, the car that has increased the most, the McLaren F1, which was built between 92 and 98. At the time, $970,000 was the base price. Those were owned by collectors like Jay Leno, Elon Musk was an owner, Sultan of Brunei was an owner of that car. And they do everybody in the collector community knows those cars, knows the examples. There were only 106 of those produced. So everyone knows where they are and who has one in their collection. There's actually one coming up for auction next week as well. Herb Chambers is selling his 1995 McLaren F1.
How much could something like that go for?
They're estimating the record is currently $13,750,000. They think this car may exceed that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But for a $900 or $1 million investment, that's a fairly significant return.
Yeah, that's a blue chip return.
And he has been the only owner of that car.
So that's going to help with the value as well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Brett, and thank you as always for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.